talking about the Great Fire of Haverhill, 1882. It actually started at 11:40 in the evening time, February 17th, 1882. Discovered by Haverhill police officer by the name of Mr. Weber. He discovered smoke coming from the E.P. Wentworth building. With no water to put the fire out, he sounded the steam alarm to alert the citizens and the fire department that there was a fire in downtown Haverhill. To let you guys know, if there was buckets near this furnace, that fire could have been averted. There were no buckets of water. It could have been put out with a few buckets of water. It was not that big of a fire when it first started. The E.P. Wentworth building was located halfway up the north side of Washington Street between Washington Square and Railroad Crossing. The fire started from an overheated stove, which when I was reading through the reports, the fire inspector had told the E.P. Wentworth building people that the fire door itself was unsafe. So in response, instead of fixing the fire door, they upped the insurance on the building. By 11:45, the horn had sounded and the fire department was on the scene. They thought that they had the fire under control until the hose from the steam engine broke. So the fire truck that they sent out, the hose broke. So no, they weren't having a good night with this fire. Along with high winds and very cold temps and the lack of water, the fire spread quickly through the downtown. Soon it became a 5-alarm. Help came in from Lawrence, Lowell, and Newburyport. Lawrence steamer number 5 was dispatched and was on the scene before 1 a.m. The steamer stationed itself near the river. They were able to hold the fire back. They worked at, near the Tilton block. And it actually saved the east side of Washington Square, Essex Street, and Merrimack Street. By Saturday morning, February 18th, 2 a.m., both sides of Washington Street and parts of Essex Street and Wingate Street were engulfed in flames. Flying cinders from all these buildings in this area were flying across the mighty Merrimack River, and there were houses in Bradford catching on fire. By sunrise, downtown Haverhill was flattened, as seen in that picture there. Over 8 acres of land and buildings were destroyed. The damage of this fire at this time, 1883, $2 to $3 million. 292 businesses were destroyed. 4,000 jobs lost in a matter of 24 hours. 108 shoe manufacturers gone. 26 sole and leather dealers gone. 25 shoe contractors gone. 25 stitching rooms. 25 heel contractors. 25 heel manufacturers. 10 leather dealers. 30 other shoe-related businesses in this city were gone. 5 hairdressers, 3 restaurants, 3 banks, 1 drugstore, and 1 insurance office gone. At 5 a.m., firefighter Joseph St. Germain, who just got married, who was working in the shoe business but wanted more money, so he decided to become a full-time firefighter with the ladder company, died when a chimney from the Noyes Carlton block building fell and crushed him to death. It was actually Haverhill's first recorded death of a Haverhill firefighter. The only buildings to survive were made of brick. One side of Wingate Street, the Gardner block, faces into present-day Railroad Square and 2 buildings next to them. Washington Street, the Currier Sanders block at Railroad Square, built in 1877, right here. Rebuilding after, and actually, if you take apart how long, and look at the massive destruction that this fire had caused, and we look at rebuilding projects today, for example, the bridge over here, 5 years to rebuild. The rebuilding of this project went pretty quickly, considering if you look at the massive destruction. Plans for the new building were drawn up in 1 week. With the help of the brickyard up on Rosemont Street, which is Savagnic's brickyard, which was located up on Rosemont Street. And the developers who redeveloped the downtown purchased every brick that they could find in New England. By 1883, 1 year later, the area was rebuilt using bricks, stone, and iron. They used this material to build more fire-resistant buildings, and that's where the Queen Anne architecture came in that you see in downtown Haverhill today. The Pillings block was actually the first building that was completed after the fire, and it's located on Wingate Street. This here actually came from, it's on loan from the Education Department at the Haverhill Historical Society, where I do work. And this, we actually bring out 2 students so we could show them what the destruction of this, what the city had occurred. And when this fire spread, it spread quickly. Didn't help that most of these buildings were oil-saturated floors, mostly wood, some of them. Some of them were brick that were destroyed. But when these fires, when this thing got moving, it got moving. And the pumper trucks they had, 2 of the city engines actually were being repaired at the time of the fire. So due to lack of fire support, one could actually raise. And even though all these communities were called in, and the oil and everything just spread right through the town. You walk through a museum and you see a picture like this, is how many fatalities? This is a lot of, 8 acres of land were destroyed. Luckily, there was only 1.
Could you give some landmarks?
Oh yeah, no problem. The lodge, which you're in right now, is located right here. You noticed, if anyone wants to move over, the railroad station at this time was actually leveled with the road. And you can see that crossing over River Street. And actually, and here's the railroad tracks when they were actually, you could drive over them. Here's the station. This is Wingate Street over here. And those buildings are still standing today. Here's would be where Columbus Park would be roughly located in this area, which is now directly across the street. And I noticed something tonight, and I never noticed this standing when it was actually at the museum or when we've gone out to classrooms, but I got to do some more research. You notice something about this picture? There's a little house in the corner. You have to wonder how that did not end up in ruins. If you take a walk out back today, and you look at the little dock that's right behind this building, when it's out there, come around April, when the boat comes back up the river, take a walk out there, look at the dock, and you walk out on the docks, and if you look in the river, you can still see remnants of the Great Fire of Haverhill. Because back then, everything got dumped in the river. They basically came in with some bulldozers and went, you could actually still see leather heels, the old leather heels, right off the back of this parking lot. You gotta remember something. Back in 1883, and actually this went on until almost the turn of this, actually past the turn of the century, our rivers were just ways of disposal. Everybody thought, dump in the river, it goes out to the great big ocean, no one will ever see this stuff again. Well, not everything went out to the great big ocean, stayed in our rivers and ended up polluting them. So back then, people didn't understand the river ecosystem like we do today. Today, it would be totally illegal. Today, for a project like this, you'd actually start to see buntings brought up. And with the new river laws, when this town city was rebuilt in 1883, 84, the laws were different. Today, if you take a building in the downtown and you decide, well, it's in rough shape, time to take it down, and you rebuild a brand new building, there are actually environmental codes that will say you have to push it back from the water a little bit further. So back then there were no environmental protection codes like there are today.